You wake up with every intention of making today different. You tell yourself that this time you will stay focused, finish what you start, and finally become the kind of person who seems to move through life with quiet confidence. But as the hours pass, your attention slips away. You check your phone without thinking. You delay one small task, then another. By the evening, the frustration isn't just about what you failed to do. It's about the growing feeling that success must be easier for everyone else. The truth is, it isn't. The people who seem effortlessly successful are rarely relying on stronger willpower. They are relying on something much deeper. Japanese psychology has long understood that lasting success is not created through force. It is created by removing the invisible friction between who you are today and who you want to become. Once that friction disappears, progress begins to feel surprisingly natural. For many years, the world has celebrated discipline as if it were the answer to everything. We've been told that successful people simply push harder, wake up earlier, and never lose motivation. But research paints a different picture. A study published by University College London in 2010 suggested that consistent habits become automatic through repetition over time, reducing the mental effort required to perform them. That means the goal is not to become someone with endless motivation. The goal is to become someone who no longer needs to fight themselves every morning. There is one Japanese principle later in this video that completely changes the way you think about success because it doesn't ask you to work harder. It teaches you how to make success feel lighter instead. I remember receiving a message from someone who believed they were simply lazy. They had spent years buying productivity books, downloading planning apps, and setting ambitious goals every Monday. Yet every week ended with the same disappointment. They thought something was wrong with their personality. After making one surprisingly small change inspired by Japanese philosophy, they wrote back a month later saying they had accomplished more than they had in the previous 6 months. Nothing about their intelligence had changed. Nothing about their schedule had changed. The only thing that changed was the invisible psychology behind their daily actions. Kaizen is perhaps the most famous Japanese philosophy of improvement, but it is often misunderstood as nothing more than making tiny progress. Its deeper meaning is that consistent change should feel so manageable that your mind never activates resistance. This idea became widely recognized through Japanese manufacturing, especially within Toyota, where thousands of small improvements produced extraordinary long-term results. Psychologically, tiny actions reduce activity in the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for detecting threats and triggering avoidance. When your brain stops seeing change as something dangerous, your prefrontal cortex can focus on planning instead of protecting you from discomfort. Instead of trying to transform your life overnight, choose one action today that takes less than 2 minutes to complete. That small victory sends a powerful signal to your brain that success is something safe, and that prepares you for the next principle, which quietly shapes your identity every single day. Shizuai is a simple Japanese idea connected with posture and presence, yet its influence reaches far beyond physical appearance. Traditional martial artists understood that the way you carry your body changes the way you carry your mind. Modern psychology supports this connection by showing that physical posture influences confidence, emotional regulation, and decision-making. Researchers from Ohio State University found that people who sat with greater confidence were more likely to believe in their own thoughts and judgments. Every time you sit down to work, straighten your back, relax your shoulders, and take one slow breath before beginning. That tiny adjustment reminds your nervous system that you are entering a state of calm control rather than stress. Once your body stops acting like it is under attack, your mind becomes ready for a different kind of success that begins with what you allow into your environment. Danshari is often described as the Japanese art of decluttering, but its real purpose is protecting your mental energy rather than creating a beautiful room. This philosophy encourages you to refuse unnecessary things, let go of what no longer serves you, and separate yourself from emotional attachment to clutter. Neuroscience suggests that excessive visual information competes for your attention, forcing your brain to process more stimuli than necessary. Researchers at Princeton University found that physical clutter can reduce your ability to focus because competing objects continuously demand attention. Before beginning your most important task tomorrow, remove just 3 unnecessary items from your workspace. You may be surprised how much lighter your thinking becomes when your environment stops asking your brain to make hundreds of tiny decisions. But physical clutter is only one form of distraction. The next habit deals with something far more difficult to notice because it exists inside your own thoughts. Ma is the Japanese appreciation of intentional empty space. You can see it in traditional architecture, gardens, music, and even conversation, where silence is treated as something meaningful instead of uncomfortable. The human brain also needs this kind of space. When every moment is filled with notifications, entertainment, and endless information, the nervous system never fully recovers. A study from the University of California, Irvine found that frequent interruptions significantly increase stress while reducing concentration. Instead of filling every free minute with another video or another scroll through social media, spend 5 minutes each day doing absolutely nothing except breathing and observing your surroundings. At first it may feel strangely uncomfortable because your brain has forgotten how to exist without constant stimulation. Yet over time those empty moments become the place where your clearest ideas begin to appear. Success often arrives not because you added more to your life, but because you finally created space for what truly mattered. Ikigai is often translated as a reason for being, but in everyday Japanese life it is much quieter than the dramatic purpose many people imagine. It is not about discovering one perfect calling that instantly changes everything. It is about waking up each day with a simple reason to take the next step. The people of Okinawa, one of the world's most studied longevity regions, often describe their lives through small daily purposes rather than distant achievements. Psychologically, having a clear sense of meaning activates long-term motivation because the brain stops chasing only immediate rewards. Research published by Stanford University in 2014 suggested that people who connect their actions to a meaningful purpose are more likely to persist through challenges than those motivated only by external rewards. Before starting your work each morning, ask yourself one simple question: who benefits if I do this well today? That single question transforms ordinary tasks into meaningful actions, and meaning always lasts longer than motivation. If this idea is resonating with you, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another lesson on Japanese psychology that can quietly reshape the way you live. Because the next principle is the one many successful people follow without even realizing it. Zanshin means remaining fully present even after an action is complete. It comes from Japanese martial arts, where practitioners are taught that true awareness continues beyond the final movement. Success is often lost not during difficult moments but in the seconds immediately afterward, when people relax too early or allow their attention to drift. Neuroscience shows that attention is strengthened through deliberate practice, allowing the prefrontal cortex to maintain focus for longer periods instead of constantly switching between distractions. After completing any important task today, resist the urge to instantly reach for your phone or another source of stimulation. Sit quietly for 1 minute, notice your breathing, and allow your mind to settle before moving to the next activity. That small pause trains your brain to stay intentional instead of reactive, and over time your entire day begins to feel calmer. But there is another invisible force that quietly shapes your future long before results appear. Hansei is the Japanese practice of honest self-reflection without self-punishment. In Japanese companies and traditional craftsmanship, mistakes are rarely ignored, yet they are also not treated as proof of failure. They are viewed as information. Many people confuse reflection with criticism, but they are completely different. Self-criticism activates stress responses that make future action more difficult, while constructive reflection strengthens learning and emotional resilience. Researchers from Harvard Business School reported that people who regularly reflected on their experiences improved their future performance more than those who simply repeated the work without reflection. Every evening, write down one thing you did well and one thing you would improve tomorrow. Do not judge yourself. Simply observe with honesty. Growth becomes much easier when your identity is no longer tied to perfection. And once you stop fearing mistakes, another powerful transformation begins to happen inside you. Shinrin-Yoku, often called forest bathing, reminds us that productivity is not created only at a desk. In Japan, spending quiet time in nature has long been viewed as a way to restore both body and mind rather than simply escape from work. Scientific research has supported this tradition. A study conducted by Nippon Medical School found that spending time in forest environments can reduce cortisol, lower blood pressure, and improve overall feelings of well-being. Chronic stress quietly narrows your thinking, making every challenge feel larger than it really is. Even a short walk among trees or in a peaceful park can help your nervous system return to a balanced state where creative thinking becomes possible again. Success becomes easier when your mind is no longer fighting constant stress. But perhaps the deepest Japanese principle is not about what you do. It is about who you quietly become through those repeated actions. Kokoro is the Japanese idea of the heart, mind, and spirit working together as one. It suggests that lasting achievement does not come from forcing yourself to act against your own identity. Instead, your habits slowly shape the person you believe yourself to be. Psychology describes this as identity-based behavior. When you repeatedly perform small actions that match the person you wish to become, your brain gradually accepts that identity as normal. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be productive," and begin saying, "I'm someone who finishes what I start." That shift changes everything because actions are no longer driven by pressure. They are driven by self-image. Every small promise you keep to yourself becomes another piece of evidence supporting the identity you are building. Eventually, success stops feeling like something you chase. It becomes something your daily character naturally produces. This is the quiet lesson hidden beneath Japanese psychology. You do not become successful through dramatic transformations that last a week before fading away. You become successful through small choices repeated with patience until they no longer feel like choices at all. The world often celebrates intensity because intensity looks exciting. But consistency creates lives that no one notices until years later, when the results seem almost effortless. That effortless appearance is an illusion built on countless ordinary moments that most people ignored. You do not need to apply every principle you heard today. In fact, trying to change everything at once usually leads to changing nothing. Choose one habit. Practice it until it feels natural. Then allow the next one to grow from it. This is the true spirit of Kaizen. A 1-degree improvement may seem invisible today, but repeated every day, it eventually changes the entire direction of your life. Success is rarely one giant leap. More often, it is thousands of almost invisible steps taken with quiet intention. It is not about becoming a different person overnight. It is about removing the invisible barriers that have prevented the real version of you from moving forward. It is not about forcing discipline. It is about designing a life where discipline becomes almost unnecessary. It is not about chasing success. It is about becoming the kind of person for whom success feels like the natural consequence of how they live each day. Which of these Japanese principles spoke to you the most, and which one will you begin practicing today? Share your answer in the comments because your experience may inspire someone else to take their first small step. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe and explore the next video, Why Japanese People Never Lose Focus. Until then, remember the Japanese proverb, the bamboo that bends is stronger than the oak that resists. I'm Kai, from Japanese Productivity. Until we meet again, may every quiet step you take today become the foundation of an extraordinary tomorrow.